Paulo Costa versus Robert Whittaker. Beautiful, beautiful fight. Oh, chef's kiss. Love this fight. I know most people watching love this fight too. But let me just say this about this fight before we even analyze like who's winning, Whittaker Costa, how are they winning. Let me say this. This is really important. There is a particular individual amongst these two who, if he loses, he is going to bare knuckle fighting next or PFL. That individual is Paulo Costa. Yes, spoiler alert, I am picking Robert Whittaker to win. I'll explain how in a second. But main thing that I'm trying to explain to you right now is Paulo Costa is going to lose, and he's going to most likely, in my opinion, bare knuckle fighting championship next. Let me also explain to you why DDP, Paulo Costa, very, very different. Don't just judge Robert Whittaker off his last fight because he fought a very confusing and overwhelming DDP. Paulo Costa, not the same style of fighter at all. Oh yes, before I forget, if you end up liking the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content similar to this, and check out my channel for other content that you may like. When it comes to the fight itself, as I mentioned, I am picking Robert Whittaker to win. Some of you might be wondering how am I picking him to win, and some of you might be questioning Robert Whittaker a little bit based on his last performance, because as we know, as the one mantra always goes, you're only as good as your last fight, blah, 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 blah. Some people remember his fight with DDP. They might be wondering, does Robert still have it? Was that a fluke? Was that DDP just being great? What was that? Let's look at some tape. The reality, like I mentioned, is that DDP is just really, really good. And one thing that he did, which I think that just kind of overwhelmed Robert, which I don't think Paulo Costa has the same ability to do, is DDP just showed him a lot of different things. You'll notice in the tape, DDP will move forward, boom, switch stance, feint a lot, moving his hands a lot, kicking, punching. He was doing a lot of things that was kind of, you can say, confusing and overwhelming Robert. And not only that, the other problem with Robert Whittaker's game a little bit is that people are starting to catch on to this sort of jab thing he has going on, these little blitz. DDP, as you can see, throughout the fight did a great job at using his hands either like this or up here at blocking his shots. And Robert Whittaker didn't really have any other gear to go into. Like, just look at this right here. DDP kind of feints, switches stance, covers up. So I think that Robert just wasn't expecting some of this stuff. Now keep in mind, why am I pointing some of this stuff out, you might be wondering, is that I don't believe that Paulo Costa can replicate this stuff. Let's look at some more of this stuff, right? So Robert Whittaker standing right here, DDP feints like this, switches stances, and you'll see DDP come in a little bit. He'll fake the kick like that, and then boom, switch to a low kick right there. What I'm saying is, like, Paulo Costa is a good striker. He can be dynamic at times, and I'm not saying that Paulo Costa doesn't use feints. I'm not saying he doesn't do any of this stuff. It's just that I don't see Paulo Costa engaging in this level of striking where he's really showing his opponents a lot of different stuff. You combine that with Paulo Costa, who I feel like doesn't take his career as seriously, you get a result where, yes, while maybe Whittaker didn't look as great, and while, yes, we don't know if Whittaker's going to win a title again, I don't know 100% as of right now, Paulo Costa doesn't present the same type of challenges. So if Robert Whittaker still comes in sharp, trains hard, as long as he hasn't majorly lost a step, and as long as Paulo continues not to take his career too seriously, in my opinion, there's no real reason that Paulo's going to come here and win. But let's just look at some tape in the Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold fight. So just to give you an example of the differences between Paulo and DDP, now you're going to watch Paulo kind of following and cutting off Rockhold. You'll see Paulo does these feints and stuff, but you'll notice how he just kind of walks him down like this. No stance switching, not as many feints, not really showing Rockhold as many things, right? And keep in mind, Rockhold's a lower quality opponent than Whittaker. So you'll see Paulo still just trying to cut him off. He does some feints here and there, but you'll notice it's a much more simpler looking fighting style than DDP. DDP has a lot of confusion. This is a little bit more manageable for someone with Robert Whittaker's skills. And keep in mind, he's fighting a Luke Rockhold who's way past his prime, who's not really all there anymore. This was Luke's fight. Right after that, he retired. This is a much lower quality opponent. And Paulo, it's not like Paulo just ran right through him. It was a 3-round decision. So when they're standing around like this, just try to notice what differences, again, do you really notice between DDP and Paulo Costa. You see, Paulo Costa is a lot more of a basic striking style, a lot more basic footwork, doesn't show as many feints, his movement's not the same. It's very, very, very clearly different than him. Again, you can see they're just kind of standing there. Rockhold's bloody against the cage. Paulo's trying to do his thing. He's just feinting a little bit, moving a little bit. But you'll notice there's no stance switches here. Paulo's trying to get in. He's throwing more basic strikes. He's not really doing as much. Yes, you can judge Robert Whittaker off his last fight, and yes, you're only as good as your last fight. However, you have to look at it a little bit deeper than that. DDP and Paulo Costa are not the same in any way, shape, or form. I'm picking Robert Whittaker by decision. I believe that Robert Whittaker is probably going to fight a pretty patient fight. I don't think he's going to be able to get the finish. I think he's going to mix some grappling, mostly on the feet. And then after that, Paulo Costa, probably bare knuckle FC, but we'll see. Maybe PFL makes him a good offer as well. If you end up enjoying the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content similar to this, and check out my channel for other content that you may like. I will catch you guys later. Enjoy the fights this week.